I was looking up the Radio Shack's heritage actually starts in ham radio.
It does.
And the brand sold ham radio equipment to industrial and military folks in the Boston area. And it worked its way through computers, and many people in this room that might have started with a computer started on a
TRS-80.
TRS-80.
Yeah.
So there's and I think the thing that I hear from makers quite a bit is actually a feeling for Radio Shack that people don't have for big box retail. They're rooting for you, to kind of pay attention to them and connect your past to the future, really.
Well, I will tell you, I think that's exactly how we have our new management team here. That's exactly how we feel, that this business and the Radio Shack brand has gone through tremendous transformation, and probably in the past 8 or 9 years became heavily focused in areas outside of our core competency. Became very involved and in love with the mobility category, which is an important category, but it shouldn't be all things to Radio Shack customers. And what we've been trying to do is and we've had a little bit of fun with some TV commercials and rebranding, but trying to bring us back to our roots. And our roots really were about the maker community, the fact that we were a pioneer in development. We had become very big box-like, I would say, Dale, in many ways, where we started carrying products other people carried, and that's really not what we're known for. So the mandate inside our business today is to kind of return to where we were, while still, you can't play only one card. You've got to play in every category, and you've got to play to every consumer. So one of the things that we're heavily focusing on is how do we return to the glory days of Radio Shack, where we became the most important retailer for people like yourselves in this room, and that is not easy work. One of the things that we're most proud of is the fact that we, even with some of our recent announcements in terms of number of stores, we will still have over 4,000 stores in the United States, where we are the neighborhood shop. And more importantly, we really believe that our associates in our stores are really well educated, and everything we're doing is focusing on being part of that community, being part of the maker community, and really ensuring that we have that knowledge base to ensure an emotional connectivity.
So 4,000 stores, are they pretty much all the same, or are there different kinds of stores out
Yeah,
there?
one of the things that, our stores range from probably 1,200 square feet to probably 4,000 square feet, but as a business, we've kind of approached it and kind of created a cookie cutter model, which means basically all stores are made equal, and that's really not the way the business operates. So in this market in San Francisco, talking specifically to the maker community, we would know that we need to open up and we need to amp up the maker products, the do-it-yourself products. We need to move into more kitting, et cetera. And we haven't done that in the past. And the goal of the team moving forward is to say, look, we need to put the right products in the right store, supplement it with a very strong e-com presence. But the store in Times Square in New York will have a very different feel and focus, because it's talking to a tourist community. So we are really trying to reestablish the retail footprint in a way that is relevant to the community, and then introduce as much interaction as possible. So whether it's 3D printers, whether it's I don't know if you've been over to the soldering station, we also have our 3D printers there as well too. We also have a new Fix-It program. We're trying to bring as much excitement back into our store as possible, and create that entertainment value as many retailers are trying to do at retail.
Mm-hmm. Now, how does your relationship work with the stores? Like, do you decide what to buy centrally, and then that goes out to all those stores? Yeah,
so the way we approach our listing base is there is up to, I think, 30,000 SKUs that are available, both from an e-com or a retail footprint. And in the past, we've been very selective in what we put in each store and been very consistent. And what we're trying to do now is to use the influence of social media, our associates. I'll talk to you in a second about something called RS Connect we just launched. But taking their understanding of their local community and affecting their quantities of inventory, their assortment strategy, as opposed to trying to create a national strategy. So one of the things I mentioned earlier is that we have a very, very strong associate model who really understands the consumer in their marketplace. So we've now connected all 5,000 of our stores through a program called RS Connect that allows them to lean on each other as part of their community. So if they can't answer a question, even though we think from an associate point of view, we have some of the best, if not the best associates in the country, they can lean on other experts inside the Radio Shack world to get answers to questions that they may not be able to resolve. Because what we want to do is ensure when you make the effort to come to a Radio Shack, we believe that you have a very specific objective. and that you came there for a reason and you have a problem and you need a solution. And what we want to do is make sure that you walk out of there 100% satisfied with that solution. So if I can't answer it as an associate, I can lean on somebody up in Boston, Mass to give me the answer to make sure you leave our store with the right answers. So that's a real paramount point inside of our brand moving forward.
And I think you and your new team have been in place about a year, right? And I know we've had last year Jennifer came and so it was great to get you here to Maker Faire. And I just top of mind, what are some of your impressions walking around Maker Faire and thinking, certainly with a Radio Shack hat on?
Well, first of all, I'll give you my impression before I came to Maker Faire, and part of our team was part of the new team was here last year to experience this. We were blown away. In fact, using our internal kind of tweeting system through RS Connect, I said, if you ever want to feel the love of customers who really do appreciate Radio Shack, come to Maker Faire. Every time you say you're from Radio Shack, people just kind of line up and say, you are the place that I did this or found that and built that. To experience it when you actually come here is pretty amazing. You're a bit of a rock star when you're Radio Shack in this place, and I have to tell you, my team, I think it really has heightened the awareness in terms of what we need to do in terms of giving back to this maker movement. And as we've talked about, there's so much more we can do. One of the things that people kind of view us as that place for information or that place to find product, but we're really thinking about it differently. We're saying we want to be on the front end of invention and design in the maker community. So how do we kind of change that landscape so that when all of you are thinking about taking a project, we're on the front end of the discussion, not just on the back end when you're looking for parts and pieces to complete your role. So it was pretty enlightening once I came here to kind of understand the different levels of which many of you are in relative to design, of product, how you are. I love the line, let's void a warranty. I think that's just a pretty powerful line, and I think it really talks to this community. And Radio Shack very much wants to be kind of part of that whole cycle, not just not the retailer at the end.
Right. You have an extensive background in retail, so not just someone who's been at one place for a while. What do you think the trends are in retail that are going to shape where Radio Shack's going?
Well, one of the things that we first did when we came in was kind of decide who we are and who we're not, and we would have defined ourselves as a consumer electronics store, and I made it very clear that our mandate is to be a technology store. And what that means for us is anytime technology enters a category, we as Radio Shack have a right to participate in one form or another. So we have a very, very broad definition of what that means for the new Radio Shack moving forward. Just like other retail businesses I came out of, drug and food and other markets, they continually go through change. Add new categories, approach the business differently, create different points of animation inside the store. Radio Shack has been somewhat static in the past, and I think what my team is trying to do is try to invoke a lot more, constant change in a good way in evolving categories, and ensuring that we're leveraging anything from a technology point of view. Simple point. If you're a consumer, an electronics store, you would just carry SKUs and put them up on a shelf. If you're a technology store, you would view that category very differently. It's not a product, it's part of an infrastructure. The way you'll see our stores being re-merchandised will actually talk to that point. We want to be solution-based. We want to be the great enabler. We want to help people, break down barriers to do things on their own. We're not about go down aisle 3 and find shelf 6 or peg 7 on the shelf and find that product. We're about helping you solve that problem. And I think, what we're doing is what a lot of great retailers have done in the past, which is really changing the landscape and projecting ourselves very differently. And it's tough to do with 4,000 stores. Changing 4,000 stores at once isn't easy work, and we're taking tiny bits. Now, we've already touched 2,000 of our locations. San Francisco, the market you're in right now, is a test market that will get converted by August 1st, I believe. So there's a lot of great innovation happening, both from a design point of view and interaction point of view, and more importantly, I would say a product perspective as well.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of we went through a period where to some degree it's hard to find electronics or components, and Radio Shack was a source for that. And then with the internet, people could find lots of things. I'm actually kind of surprised that, from you and some others that, stores that are kind of near maker spaces or, in cities where I know there are a lot of makers, they actually are hitting those stores and looking for Arduinos and looking for product. Even though they could go get them online, I always think it's like Wednesday night and they left work and they decided, I'm going to go over and do something. and they didn't figure out in advance that they were going to order it online.
Well, I think that's what's special about the maker community. You know, it's about what I want to do right now. I need a part, I need a piece. I feel like doing something now. I don't, can you order it online? Of course you can. But at the end of the day, some of this stuff just isn't planned. We were in the Market Street store in San Francisco yesterday, and a gentleman walked in and said, "Oh, I was at a friend's house the night before. I'm on my way to Maker Faire. I forgot something at his place. I came here to buy a new piece because I want it right now because I'm on my way to Maker Faire." And I think that urgency or immediacy is important for a bricks and mortar business like Radio Shack to be able to take advantage of. Now, that means, that we have a responsibility to keep things in stock, which has not been our greatest strength. Would you guys agree? Has not been our greatest strength over the years. So you should feel good about the fact that when we look at our business, we look at headphones and speakers and phones very differently than we do parts and pieces and products, because we know that the reason you came to us was because you needed that product now. Okay, so whether it's the assortment that's in a store or the depth of inventory, that's the work that's currently happening. Plus the fact that, we want our stores to be able to be utilized in a way that creates that maker community that allows for project design. Some of the stores we put in New York allow for a table to allow projects to be created in stores, and we're kind of testing that to say, is that a good investment of space? And so far the news is, yeah, any place where I can do any sort of collaboration is hugely helpful for the maker community in a big way. So we're excited about understanding those impacts.
Well, I've always thought one of the reasons my companies wanted to work with Radio Shack is I feel part of your legacy is that you still have makers who may not even call themselves makers, right, going to your stores looking for things. And if I get my magazine in there, I can get some of the maker things in there, they're going to find out that there's new things going on. They might not have a maker fair. They might not know what's going on. But, there's a lot more of these people out there. They're in rural communities. They're in small cities. But they may not even have heard of the maker movement at all.
Yeah, I think what's happening is that the maker movement is really becoming a trend, and to your point, people don't even identify it as kind of the maker movement we would all know from the past. It's just the way people are. People want to customize. People want to invent. Like I said, people want to avoid warranties and be unique, and I think that's really where we play a strong role. People want to do things themselves. The cost of technology is getting so inexpensive that there's things that you never could have done without expensive systems in your home that you can now do on your own if you choose to. And I think that's what's exciting about what we see around here is that people have really taken kind of a plug-and-play approach and saying, how do I take that? And whether I want to commercialize it or just show that I can do it, it really doesn't matter. People are doing it for their own reasons. Yeah. And, Radio Shack's there for both.
Yeah. So let's turn the conversation a little bit away from makers just buying stuff in the store to, let me ask, how many of you are makers who are developing a product of some sort that you would love to see in a Radio Shack store? Any of you? A couple of you? Okay. Yeah. So, Michael, what do you think Radio Shack's relationship with makers could be in terms of providing them access to retail, providing them access to your 4,000 stores?
Yeah, I think the way we're kind of looking at it is, as I mentioned earlier, we want to be on the front end of that thinking. And we want to, we are establishing a program that will allow makers and inventors to kind of enter a Radio Shack under different terms and conditions than a regular national brand manufacturer would. We kind of view it as, kind of an easy way to get to shelf, managing things like inventory inside of our world, making a decision on being in some test stores that are, that represent the total 5,000 store community, to allow people to kind of test things, push the envelope, prototype things, working with partners like PCH to ensure that they, at the end of the day, can help either fund you moving it forward. Radio Shack would have interest in funding certain projects as well. And at the end, truly at the end of the day, we want to really go, we want to start with you at concept stage to make sure that you're designing a product that will not just launch on a Kickstarter campaign and do extremely well out of the gate, but has the ability to maintain itself and play in a bricks and mortar and an e-com platform long term. And I think that really is our role and our responsibility. And something as simple as, everybody, a lot of people have great ideas, but they may not understand, how to price products for the long term. What the next act is, how to become efficient, how to talk that retail language. And we see ourselves really as an enabler to allow people to take that product or that concept and take it through everything from funding to prototype to a small production to a full production to get it at store in the fastest way possible.
Now, I think I was surprised to learn that RadioShack actually has a lot of experience in the supply chain and working in China and figuring out how things get made.
Yeah, I mean, we have almost 180 people on the ground in China that are working every day on products. We were fully vertically integrated probably 20 years ago. Some of the team members are here that remember those days. And today we think we have kind of the best model, which is we have our designers on the ground both in the U.S. and overseas. We have partners that supplement, and we can accelerate anybody's idea very, very quickly because that's just what we do. And as you know, we're predominantly a private brand house inside our stores. So I would say to all of you, you should lean on RadioShack from that perspective. If we're talking to you today out there, we've talked to many of you, the opportunity really is that, we can be an accelerator, and that's the way you need to think of us.
Right. Can you talk about any new initiatives that you have for makers that you're or just in
I mean, I
general?
could talk, one of the things we're working on is, how do we amp up, our physical presence of the maker inside of our stores. And, we're working on different design groups that allow for community, us to become a community hub in particular markets. So San Francisco, New York, Washington, D.C., where there's a really strong presence, can we create hub stores to allow that interactivity? Those are the types of things that are being worked on from a store design point of view. From a product development point of view, as I alluded to, we want to be on the front end, and we will work as your partner to help develop that product moving it forward. Those two things are very different than where we played the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years, but yet it's our sweet spot at the end of the day. So we want to make sure that people understand that they can, leverage RadioShack in a way as an enabler, as part of development design a product as well.
Joe, do you mind if I take a few questions before we
Sure.
close up? Okay. Anybody with a burning question for Joe?
So just for everyone's benefit, the question is, we're talking about urban stores for the maker movement. Is it really just an urban strategy, or will it be areas where we can exploit it in other communities? And the answer is, as we look at our real estate portfolio and understand the mix, different stores in different communities will start to lean into certain areas of our business. So it could be maker in your community based on the sales and the opportunity and the demographics. In other areas, like a tourist area, it may not be focused on that area of the business. So what we're trying to do is every site, as we go through our real estate, and again, we have a lot of real estate for across this country with over 5,000 sites, we're trying to customize those sites to either lean into maker, lean into tourism, lean into services, so we can create that customization. So it's not strictly an urban strategy. It's just, it's where we started. So the question really talks about how do we tie back to kind of the education process. And I think, I would say on our docket, that's one of the things that is a huge void today. As we've gone around Maker Faire, I will tell you that as we look at things and we look at it from a retail point of view, so it could be 3D printing, for example. The question is then, how do we then tie back into local schools, create programs, create kits of product for those types of programs? So that is an effort that has just started within probably in the last quarter, I would say, where we feel that if we can kind of, infiltrate the education system, working with some folks that are already in play, that it can become a huge focus and a huge opportunity for us.
So, one of the things that teachers tell me is the biggest need and enabler for them to do making in school is supplies.
Yes.
And they often don't have budgets for supplies. And if they were kind of connected to local stores and there was some kind of program there, I think that would be really powerful. I mean, soldering irons, electronic components, and that's often coming out of a teacher's pocket because they can't. It's not big technology budgets they have.
And I would say, part of it is that we have to be able to find a way to bulk that product up and make it really cost effective as part of it for people to enter it in a wide scale basis. So that definitely is a priority for us.
Quickly.
Well, I wouldn't say that we are. Is there a difference? Yeah, there's a huge difference. Again, the way we view our online business is a little bit different because we will order products online for you on a direct-to-you basis as well, too. Obviously, anything that's, where we've seen some spikes are things like, EL wire and things, have taken off dramatically because they've started, to become more cost effective. Arduino boards and things like that have been hugely effective. We're looking at these kits as obviously a big driver. But the more we look at the categories, we realize that our customers who come to our store want to buy parts and pieces as opposed to full kits, and that's where we're going to put a lot of our attention. It's almost like our parts and pieces drawers when it comes to these things. We think we can buy in bulk and allow people the ability to kind of build their own devices. So you're going to see a real change in how we merchandise against those growth categories.
Good. Okay. Listen, we're gonna have to wrap here. Maybe you can answer that privately. I want to thank Joe for being here. I think it's a big deal to have Radio Shack CEO here at Maker Faire, talk to everybody, and more importantly, apart from the stage, it's your interactions one-on-one with makers around here, and they get to learn more about what you're thinking. So let's give Joe a hand for being here at Maker Faire.